This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski.
We are talking with attorney Eric Faddis today, digging into the interesting case of civil lawsuits on top of criminal charges against Kouri Richins. This is the mom who wrote the children's book about grief for her kids, and now she's accused of killing her husband, the very father of the kids she wrote the book about grief for. She's now filed suit saying that she's entitled to what was in the prenuptial agreement. And the sister of her husband, the victim of this murder, has filed a countersuit against her for $13 million. Number one, a prenuptial agreement is there for divorce, not necessarily a suspected homicide of your husband when you're the one accused of it. Is there a history on this? Is there any grounds where one can look at and say, well, in this other case here where so-and-so's spouse was murdered and the spouse is suspected, that we go to the prenuptial agreement and decide what Kouri has the rights to when, in fact, her husband went out of his way to move some of those assets away from her, suspecting she could kill him?
Yeah, you know, at my firm in Colorado, Varner Faddis Elite Legal, we do criminal defense, but we also do civil cases, and we do a good amount of wrongful death. I've just never seen it come up where some, prenuptial agreement in the family law setting is somehow relevant to a future death and a future wrongful death claim. I just haven't seen it. But we've seen a lot of unexpected things come out of this case. And this is just, one additional surprise that Kouri Richins is sort of presenting to the court, and now the public's aware of it. And so will that prenuptial agreement have some bearing on the wrongful death suit? It's hard for me to fathom how it could. But a judge could always disagree with me and find some relevance. So we'll kind of just have to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems very bizarre. I mean, obviously she has attorneys with her that are making these filings. So it's not just, her going to LegalZoom and filing suits or something like that.
Right.
But so others have to agree that this could possibly be grounds. Is that initial suit, when you look at this from your perspective, does that look to you to possibly be an attorney going, I want to represent you, but I also would like to be paid. So we better figure out a way for you to get some funds to fund your defense?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, especially in the civil realm, the monetary consideration is always there. It's there for the client. It's there for the attorney.
Sure.
And so those are things, as uncouth as it may appear, to consider, those are things that have to be considered. And, the fact that an attorney likely brought this suit tells me that the attorney, assuming that they were acting ethically, had some credible basis on which to bring the suit. Now, when you bring a suit, you don't have to have all the information. You can try to gather that as the suit progresses. But you've got to have some legitimate basis that you have looked into as an attorney that you can kind of go in front of a court and say, hey, look, I think there is something real here that we need to look into. And that's really the representation that Kouri Richins' attorney has made in filing this wrongful death suit. So they think there's something there. Is there? That's the big question. But at least the attorney thinks there is some basis. So that's, I think, interesting to know.
Sure. Now Kouri is facing a $13 million lawsuit from her husband's estate. Kouri's lawsuit claims that the prenuptial agreement obviously makes her the rightful owner of her husband's property, even though he placed it in a trust with his sister and held before his death because he suspected that she might be able to kill him. This $13 million lawsuit from her husband's estate, what is the purpose of this, to simply counter hers? Or are they going to try and go after her for truly the $13 million? Is this a procedural move of some sort?
I think it's both, Tony. I think one part of it is to sort of counter the narrative that was brought to the public's attention through Kouri Richins' initial civil suit. Mm-hmm. And to counter that and say, whoa, she's by no means the victim here. She's not the aggrieved party. The estate is, the family is, Eric Richins' family is. And so I think that's a part of it. But the second part is, I mean, let's be clear. Kouri Richins made some dough off of that book that she published that's supposed to, help people deal with the loss of a loved one. Now she sits here, accused of murdering her loved one. And so I think the estate is saying, whoa, wait a second. You better believe you are not going to enrich yourself based on this horrendous alleged event. And so I think that the estate is kind of firing back and trying to put a check on Kouri Richins and that initial civil suit that Kouri Richins filed.
It makes you wonder if someone like Kouri really understands the bounds of what she's doing. If she is sitting there just kind of spewing out ideas and such, could she be in a place, and I have no idea who the story of who's representing her or their history or anything like that, but are there ever cases where, clients are just shooting out random ideas that are utterly ludicrous, and maybe a not so a good attorney will just go along with them because there's not many other options to take, or could an attorney really face some repercussions for going along with a client that's probably, for all intents and purposes, somewhat unstable?
Oh yeah, I mean, talking about clients' crazy ideas and writing books. I mean, I could write a book on the wild ideas I've had from clients. And you've got to exercise some client control in that situation. You got to rein them in a little bit. And you also have to investigate. You also have to see, hey, maybe this wild thing they're saying is true. So you've got to look into it on that front as well. But yeah, could this be, Kouri Richins kind of at the helm of a pretty unstable and sinking ship, and the attorney is going along with it? It certainly could be. Like I was saying earlier, though, the attorney, if an attorney helped her file that suit, the attorney has to kind of vouch for at least the baseline legitimacy of the allegations in the suit. And if an attorney does not do their due diligence, does not look into the basis for this, and just puts any kind of wild thing out there and tries to see if it sticks, that attorney could be subject to disciplinary action or worse with the Bar Association in their home state. So Kouri Richins' attorney has to be super careful with pursuing anything that their client is saying should be pursued, and needs to look into those things before, sending that document to the court.
You're locked into the Hidden Killers podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts, and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member, exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast, dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.